begin the news with a holiday mystery in the Central Valley.
Laci went missing Christmas Eve. She's 27 years old and she is over 8 months pregnant.
Scott Peterson admits to having an affair ahead of the death of Laci Peterson.
Case has now taken on celebrity status.
The story of so many lies.
An old yes murder.
911.
Yes, my daughter convicted this morning. She's 8 months pregnant.
Coincidence in criminal law. And she was there, and they tried to burglarize it, and they killed her.
These are bad people, but maybe they're not the worst of the worst. And they made a mistake, but they could change it.
Right.
We let her go.
Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a good video for you today. I have an update on the Laci Peterson murder case. Yes, the Laci Peterson murder case out of California. 22 years ago now, this case actually happened. Scott Peterson, the husband of Laci Peterson, was eventually convicted of first-degree murder for the murder of his wife, Laci Peterson, and second-degree murder of the unborn child of the couple, which was already named Connor.
Are you sure you're ready for that, Laci? I remember when you were little. I said, I can't wait for you to have one, just like you.
Matter of fact, reading this case made that point a little bit sad. The body was found outside the body, and it had tape around the neck.
Great big smile on his face. Well, guess what, Scotty?
San Quentin's your new home.
And it's illegal to kill your wife and child in California.
It boggles my mind to think about how brutal this murder was. But although it's brutal and although it's sensationalized in the news and everywhere else, does that mean he is guilty? And I'll tell you why I say that. New evidence has come out that Scott Peterson actually might be innocent. There was a burglary along the houses that some are saying that maybe Laci Peterson witnessed and ended up getting killed over.
To have occurred directly across the street from the residence in question here on Christmas Eve morning. We have a witness that drove by the residence that lives in the area, who saw a suspicious vehicle and some suspicious people in front of the residence, and that was at 11:40 a.m. on that Tuesday morning.
There is going to be new DNA. The reason I'm so on this case is because you don't see the Innocent Project get on many cases this quick, and they're saying they have new evidence to prove that he is innocent. Now, if that is the case, people, this is real. You know, the family is in uproar, saying, oh, let her peace. You're just, disturbing the grave. That's not true, guys. Listen, if there's somebody in prison who's innocent, we need to get him out. I mean, that's just what it is. The Innocent Project, I worked for them. They know what they're doing. I did testifying in the Miller case in 2012. The Miller versus Alabama case came down that set that juveniles who were sentenced to life sentences needed to be resentenced because they're not mature enough. They're not to make wise decisions, to do things the right way, and they have to have a special hearing. Now, I ended up going into the court, and I worked with Barry University in Orlando, and what I did was I testified in cases of some of these young people going back to prison. So I know how serious the Innocent Project is, people. And if they're taking this case up, it really gives me a little bit of a bump on why. Now, the disappearance came, this has drawn a lot of public opinion, this case, really. It has a lot of public opinion. There's been a new Netflix series out called The American Murder, Laci Peterson. American Murder, Laci Peterson, which explores the case in detail. I like these shows that go way back in time and take a case that is pretty sensationalized. Here's what's the problem with sensationalizing a case. When you have a lot of people involved, you have a lot of people searching, you have a lot of news and media and everybody else. It fogs the waters, and these police sometimes don't do the job they're supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the police in this case. They still could be right. But in this case, we got new evidence. And what's this evidence? Yes. Did Scott Peterson have an affair with Amber Fry? Yes. Did he have an affair with 2 other women? Yes. Does that make him a murderer? No. Maybe an asshole, but not a murderer. And even then, who am I to judge another person or what they do in their own life? That's not me, and you all know that. Now, will this case, see what happened was 4 years ago, Scott Peterson, his death penalty was overturned. Yes, he originally got the death penalty, and that was overturned in 2020. And now in 2024, the courts just gave them 90 days to come up with new evidence that says he's innocent. That's very rare you see that. And if that happens, that's going to be unprecedented. But it is California. So I agree with that part of it. I do. Now, I'll tell you the truth. Whenever there's a child involved, even myself, as hard a criminal as I can be, I choke up a little bit because I don't like to think of a little innocent baby being murdered or it just boggles my mind how this can happen. And I know I go off on these things, but I'm not going to do that today. The lawyer for Scott Peterson was Mark Garagos, who's a very good lawyer. So I'm not knocking the law. I'm not knocking his defense. I'm not saying he had bad, representation. As far as I'm concerned, he had good representation. But that doesn't mean that, crooked cops, evidence that's not, given, or even DNA that wasn't available 20 years ago that is available today. That's a big point. And I think that's what the Innocent Project is saying. They're saying they have some new way of getting DNA from under the tape. And that could prove somebody that it's not Scott Peterson. Now, if they can prove it's not Scott Peterson, well, then you got the wrong guy, if they can prove that. I don't know how definitive they can get to that, but that's what makes this case very interesting. If she witnessed the burglary by a gang or something, who knows what would have happened. They also say a very brutal murder is a personal murder. So, how would I know that? I have no idea. And I was wrong. They only gave him 60 days to get new evidence. And what they're doing, they're examining the duct tape found on Laci's remains. They believe the test could provide the smoking gun needed to prove Scott's innocent. Wow, which would be pretty cool, if you ask me. I do like when cases, I was the Casey Anthony expert when she supposedly, but she was innocent, killed Kaylee Anthony, and she was found innocent by a court of law right here in Orlando, Florida. Well, Sharon Rocha, which is Laci's mother, and the whole family is really saying it feels like they're ripping the scab off old wounds. But I said this earlier, and I have to repeat it again because it really does mean something. Innocent people in jail is worse than any scab that could be ripped off of anybody. And even if you would think the person, if that person is not stuck on some of hatred for the Scott Peterson, which I hope they're not, then why wouldn't you want to know? Because if not, the murder of your daughter is running free right now. And that's what you shouldn't want. I wouldn't think it is. These Netflix series do this. They open a lot of eyes to what's going on in this world. And I don't know, I'm not into what happens to other people's marriages. I'm not into that happen to anybody, for that matter, for anything. I just wanted to update people on what's going on with the Laci Peterson murder case and why it's trending in the news. Because I do think we're going to have a new trial. Stay tuned.